my nomads? Welcome back to another Bitcast. I'm back here with Zach Payton. What's good, Zach?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Chilling, man. So I wanted to ask you, have you seen that Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney? Or is it
Yeah,
Marvel? No, it's Disney.
both. It's all the same.
Oh, it's both?
I think so because Marvel's the one that does the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's one of those things where, tomato, tomato type of thing. But at the end of the day, the point remains the same. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
think it's a good thing that we're having some people able to flex their muscles with this type of stuff because for far too long, as you probably know with the music industry and the way how they take advantage of the artists, right? With
I
their
mean, it's funny that you say that because the mu- um movie business, the video. Sorry, folks, it's late at night. It's past my bedtime, so the
Past my bedtime too. I get it.
the movie industry kind of seems like it's going down the road of music, with the
Hmm.
whole streaming, and it was, in fact, it was Black Widow that showed Disney that this whole streaming thing is probably the way to go,
Right.
and it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way,
Right.
and I think you're right. It looks like it's going down that route. And just to clarify, yeah, Disney and Marvel are two different entities, but Marvel is owned by Disney, and Kevin Feige is not happy about this at all.
Well, because here's the thing, right? Because she already got paid her 25 million or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and it's pretty simple because a lot of historically for Star Wars movies, right? A lot of the actors they're getting paid a small amount for like the movie itself, but they're getting the royalties. So how I kind of simplify this for people is like imagine halfway through they're like you're not getting the royalty. You may get the royalties on like syndication, but you're not going to get it on the merchandise. It's that same kind of thing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it, it's a it's a it's a silly point to make with the fact that saying that she's already made all this money, right? 25 million. That's not the point. The point
It's
is
not the
you
point.
start breaching contracts which has already been agreed upon. That's when you start going towards a road that you can't go back from. It's like opening Pandora's box. And I can't imagine as someone as much as like Scarlett Johansson, who's been around for a while and she's got notoriety beyond this. It's
Mhm.
not like she needed this to get any more famous. She was plenty famous before this.
It's the
You know what I mean?
principle.
Exactly. It's the principle for it because if they're going to do it to someone like her, who happens to be one of the most popular Hollywood actresses on the planet, then who's safe? You know, and it comes down to like you said, it's just straight principle.
It's
And
principle, man. I don't like those people who are saying, "Hey, man, she got 20 mil. You're rich. Be happy." It's different.
no,
It's,
no, no, no,
if
no,
you
no,
do
no,
a
no.
job and they say, "Look, we're going to give you a guaranteed. Let's just keep the numbers simple. We're going to give you a
Exactly.
guaranteed $20 for this
Right.
job, but
Right.
you're also going to get a guaranteed bonus if you
Right.
want that." And she signed, "Yeah, I want that. I want my $20 and I want my bonus."
Right.
And
Because you
then
agreed
you're
on that.
only left with the $20. It
Right.
tell me who on this planet doesn't want their money, even though they got a $20. Like, come on.
100% correct. And I'm not trying to get political on this, but real estate developers, like Donald Trump, as an example, did this with his Trump hotels in New Jersey, where there was contractors who were agreed upon a certain amount to redo the bathrooms, and then once he has to pay them, he's like, "Well, I'm going to give you 35,000 for the bathrooms instead of like the agreed amount."
Nah,
And the
bro.
argument's like, well, we can fight this over court. I can draw this out for 10 years because I got a lot more money than you, or you can take the amount that I'm telling you right now. And it's like it's the same thing. If you're going to have a problem with that, you got to have a problem with this as well. The money is completely besides the point. It's the same. You're doing the same exact thing. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's a very Darth Vader type of negotiating with
Yeah.
Lando type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Pray I don't alter the deal further.
Yeah, just pray you know I didn't agree to this. And what are
This
you gonna
deal
do?
keeps getting worse and worse every time.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, what are you gonna do? Fight him? You know, like that's
Exactly.
really what it comes down to. It is so ironic that you have that scene, and that was the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, this, do
That's
you not see
perfect.
the irony with this?
That's a
But no,
perfect analogy.
but it's like but I'm just using Donald Trump as an example because he's the first one that comes to my mind because that's the most outrageous thing that I can think of. But there's plenty of other examples of this, right?
Right.
And I'm just saying, like, the principle is like, if you're going to get outraged over this, you have to get outraged over the fact when you have an agreed upon contract, no matter how much money, you got to stick with it, and she brings in a lot of pizzazz, I guess, so to speak, with this franchise
Right.
because
Her
it's
name
like
is a brand. When you're that big of a star, your
exactly
name is a brand and you bring in
100%.
ticket sales.
Exactly. It's not like it's just some random person like Daisy Ridley who can't act to save her life, and she's just the first time. Like
Oh yeah,
it,
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah. I see
it,
what you're
but you know what I
saying.
mean. So it's like we got someone who actually can act, who has talent, who's
Who's
been
a veteran of
through.
the industry, actually. She's been acting since she was a kid too.
Right, exactly. And she's in her mid 30s, late 30s now, right? So, but still,
Yeah.
it's like it gets
It's
to a
crazy.
point, and it's like, and then you have other guys throwing their hat in the ring too with this whole thing, and it's
It's a
right.
ripple effect, man. Even Emma Stone is like, oh, so I might be entitled to some money considering that Cruella was on Disney Plus instead of in
Right,
theaters.
exactly. Taylor Swift had this with Spotify.
Mm,
Like how much money can I make per click every time someone clicks on my song? You get a percentage of a cent, right?
right,
And that was part of the reason why she pulled herself from that platform is because you're not paying me this amount at the
right,
end of the day. You know what I mean? It's like my fan base is coming to your platform and you're getting this much extra person for an ad revenue and all this because of me. Joe
mhm,
Rogan with Spotify, same kind of thing. You know what I
right,
mean? They're paying him all that money because he's bringing in 35 million extra people listening to that platform now.
right, right,
There was a contract, I'm sure, that was agreed to, and they're like, they're not going to deviate from that because it's Joe Rogan. But like with this though, Disney's like, I feel like with Disney, they're when you're that big and very few people challenge you, you kind of get to a point where it's like I could kind of do whatever I want, and this
yeah.
is
It's
kind
like,
of
what are
where
you
it's
gonna do
going.
about it? Like,
Right, and they did this with James Gunn when they fired him. You know what I mean? It
yeah,
was
man.
like, okay, we're gonna fire you over a very dumb tweet. I'm not saying what he said was dumb. It was,
Well,
but
the
something that was
timing is
10 years
just
ago.
horrible. Exactly, that's the issue. It was like 10 years ago, and since he's done so much good,
Right.
and
I'm
then you
like,
want to
guys,
bring
people
some
make
like,
mistakes. Tell
like,
me for a minute. Tell me for a minute you haven't said anything dumb or controversial to yourself or to friends.
thank
Tell you
you.
right
Like,
now.
come on.
I'll tell you right now. Like, I don't broadcast those thoughts online because I know better.
Right.
But
I mean, look
some
what
people,
look what you were doing 10 years ago. Tell me you're different.
well,
I
of
mean, tell me
course,
you're the same person. Tell me you're the same amoral person. Like people are just in this gotcha culture and they're like, "Oh, I
yeah.
got you." But it's like, "Well, let me see
That's a
your
whole nother.
receipts from
This.
10 years ago."
That's a whole nother thing. And it's like now
Yeah.
you don't have a whole lot of people defending Scarlett Johansson. It's just it really. Well, I'm not saying famous people. I'm saying the mainstream population
Right.
doesn't seem to be so keen on defending her because there's a lot of money she's already been paid. You know, and to me, it's like I think that's nonsensical. And what you're doing is that you're giving more power to $1 trillion company anyway, and that's the last thing you want.
And plus it's like, "Hey, if you let this slide, it could happen to you."
You have to hold them accountable.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Accountability all the way.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, yeah, they're hiring you, but when you're that big, you have to come to the table as like, I'm just as important as as you. It's like you being in a relationship. Like if your spouse is messed up, like you're gonna just continue telling him or her that, it's okay, whatever they're doing wrong when it's really hurting you inside. Like you're gonna have to
Right.
say something. That's the only way anything changes. And this is going to be a good starting point, especially with how streaming is going the way that it's going.
Right.
And the pandemic has fast forward that whole process with the movie theaters and like watching everything at home now, because it was already going in this direction, but this kind of like forced the issue.
I mean,
You know,
I think it was a Oprah quote that said, "We teach people how to treat us, and if you let stuff like this slide just one time, it
there's no
creates a
chance, dude.
pattern."
Yeah, I would never. If I sign a contract and all of a sudden like I have like the person who's paying me like breach it, there's gonna be hell to pay with this, and
Yes.
it's setting a dangerous precedent. You know, it really, really is, especially with how Disney Plus and HBO Max and all these other things are starting to get more
Yeah.
ingrained in people's households. It's like you can't do that. You
I
know,
think I saw an article where it said HBO Max is now putting clauses like this in their contracts for their stars because
well,
of this
yeah, of
whole
course,
situation,
yeah. I
which
mean,
they
that makes
should. I mean, you got to
they
change with
should.
the
So
times.
much more extra. Yeah, exactly. This is going to be the main way of revenue for a while. You're not going to be getting it in the movie theaters. You're going to be getting it this way. So
Hmm.
you have to adapt to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're going to adapt to it and you're going to be making, let's be real, they're going to be making the same kind of money. There is no fall off for profits with this. You
Yeah.
know, so because it's more accessible. Not
Hmm.
everyone went to the movie theater. Now you have all these streaming platforms, right? And
Hmm.
HBO Max, if you have HBO, is free for most people, so you're getting it free if you have it. So it's
Yeah.
like, to me, it's like
It's no brainer.
it's a no-brainer. You have to have this. It makes like Idris Elba doing Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad's gonna be on HBO Max, right?
Yeah, I
So
saw
it's like
it's on there now.
you. Oh, is it? I haven't even watched it yet. But
Yeah, me neither. I don't know. I'm kind of done with DC, but that's a whole different discussion.
right, yeah. Well, James Gunn's doing it, so
I
I
mean, it's
suppose we have
James
to
Gunn,
see.
so I'm
Right.
kind of at a crossroads here.
Right. I just watch it just to see how much he's changed it because Will Smith. But anyway, it's like you have guys like that, right, who are coming into this, who are being brought into these platforms, where it's kind of like when movie stars in the '90s said they'll never do TV, and here they are doing TV, and now streaming's the way to do it.
Yeah,
You know what I
man.
mean?
People are getting awards from TV. People are getting noticed from TV.
Yeah,
It's
TV's the
come
way
on,
to
man.
go, dude. No one cares about movies like that.
Right.
Like TV's where it's at. You know, like you're having some big time people doing TV shows, like voices for TV shows, even.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like Rick and Morty. Do you know how many people they get for that show? It's insane
Yeah.
how many people do the voiceover for it. You know?
Shout out
Yeah,
to Keith David.
I love Keith David too.
I love him.
Amazing. Timothy Oliphant was a guest star in like one from a couple
Oh,
episodes
word.
ago.
And he was in The Mandalorian too, man.
I know Timothy Oliphant. I love him
Yeah.
too. But
I mean, his popularity rose when he did what's that show on FX? Remind me. Justified or
oh
just
yes, Justified.
Justified?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Justified.
he did that movie Hitman too.
Hitman, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
the video game movie.
yeah, I mean
Uh,
it was okay. But
but yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, the point is like that's a cartoon of all
Mhm.
things. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's
yeah.
like you're having big time people doing cartoons now because that's just where it's at with it. And
And like to clarify, some people might not know that uh sometimes directors and actors, they get money not from they get paid for their work on doing a film, but they can make a lot of money on points. And points is they put some of their what's it called, salary based on the ticket sales. And a lot of people have made millions off of that. It's basically investing in yourself, betting on yourself, like, oh man, this is going to be a great film. I know it. This is going to be great. You know what? I'll take a lower salary up front so I can put points towards the ticket sales. And that's how they get a
oh,
lot
that
of
makes
money.
sense. Right
Yeah.
now it's streaming with views.
And sometimes they get that negotiated depending on who the star is. They'll be like, oh, okay, so we'll pay you this amount of money, and then we'll also put some points towards the ticket sales for you. So sometimes you can get that negotiated. So this is where it comes into play. Hey, it was in the contract, so you got to go by the contract. And apparently, I mean, we haven't seen the contract, but apparently it said that her contract said it was an exclusive theater release and
Exactly.
not to be
That's
streamed.
important.
That's very important.
That's a damning word
Mm-hmm.
for this very situation. I'm like, when you're saying exclusive, like there's nothing ambiguous about exclusive.
Yeah, there's no loophole.
You know what I mean? So it's like all of a sudden you're like, well, they're not in the movie theater because no one's going to the movie theater except for you and a couple other people, right?
Yeah, except for me. Yeah.
Yeah, who have some
I
kind of
saw Snake
nostalgic
Eyes and
feeling
I
for
was
trying
one
to
of
save
three in there.
people from the movie. Yeah, but I mean, besides that, you know, I haven't been to the movie theater 2 years probably at this point.
And
Yeah.
that's more common. That's
It
more
is.
common right now.
It is more common. It's like, and you know, I already was apprehensive going to movie theater for the most part anyway, seeing this stuff. Like, so it's like for me, it's like if I can watch it at my house because I have a pretty sweet setup at my house.
That's
You
another
know,
thing too. People are investing in that because of the pandemic.
right? That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I got a nice sound system. I got a, you know, sweet, you know, 8K TV, like all that stuff. So for me, it's like, why do I need to spend $40 to go to the movie theater when I can actually see it more comfortably 20 feet away from my TV in my house? You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I feel like because people are doing that, there's more people like you who are doing that. I mean, if HBO Max put their movies on the streaming service and was like, hey, you gotta pay 30, they probably wouldn't do 30 like Disney. They probably undercut it just to,
Right. But they're not
stick it
even
to
charging
Disney.
people extra. That's
I feel
the
like
crazy part.
people would still pay even if they were, but
I would.
they're not charging extra.
No,
It's
they're not.
crazy. I'm like, how are
I
you
mean,
making money right now?
let's be real though.
I know.
The parent company of HBO is an equivalent to Disney
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like this is just like someone who's just like barely scraping by. This is
I mean, when Wonder Woman 1984 came out on the streaming service, there was rumor that
I'm glad
both
they didn't charge
Patty
for that.
Jenkins,
I would have been mad.
I would have been pissed. Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot. It was a rumor that the studio was like, hey, let's slide y'all each 20 mil, an extra 20 mil, just for the fact that hey, it's not going to be in theaters and you can't get points. So I'm like, dag, like they just sliding people extra cash. Like somebody got money.
But here's exactly right. But I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people don't have HBO like as because HBO for the TV packages are its own thing. Like they're special from Showtime and Cinemax and all that. Like they're their own thing because you got to pay more than all the other premium channels. So if you don't have that, HBO Max is actually a little expensive. It's not like Disney Plus, where Disney Plus is $8, or if you get ESPN Plus and Hulu, it's 13.
I think
right?
It's like 15 right now. I think.
I'm just 15, dude. Just say you get 20 million people being conservative with that, right?
Oh well, they definitely are because everything's pretty much streaming now. So you literally got a budget what you want to watch and what streaming platform you want. It's crazy now.
No, yeah,
it's just like
it's
cable.
Gone away from exactly. It's gone from let's save money on cable to I'm going to drop an extra $200 a month on all these subscriptions. And to me, it's like, look, I only got a handful. Like I got the Disney Plus bundle. I got HBO only because I have the HBO, premium channel. And I mean, I got Netflix, and that's it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm one of those guilty people who has
and Amazon,
everything out there.
Because everyone's got Amazon Prime. I can't do that. There's too much. That's too much content. Like that's overloading. Like I have to. It's like going to the Cheesecake Factory, right? Like I'm going to cut up a certain part of the menu because if I look through all 80 pages, I'm going to be there all night.
Right.
So I'm going to just have. I'm going to have so many subscription services just to like keep my taste at a very specific point. Because if I go to like Paramount Plus and I go to all that other stuff, I'm just going to be so overwhelmed with all this content.
I mean, I'm about to add another one. I mean, I just saw a new one.
How do you have time
for $3 a month? Because I'm a martial arts cinephile. So
I'm sorry, I got Funimation too. My apologies.
Oh, you got Funimation?
I have that too because I like my senseless anime streaming. Okay, I'm one of those dudes, and I've
Let's
been
go.
watching the heck out of Scarlet Nexus after playing that game, and
Oh,
I love
really?
it. Oh, dude, it's so
Mm,
great. It's so great. The game was
nice.
great. The show's great. All of it's great. And I just have now I have Heather watching Full Metal Alchemist,
Get out of here. My boy just discovered Full Metal Alchemist
and I'm
Brotherhood.
like
And
telling
I'm
her,
like,
I
bro,
told her,
you
it's like
late.
hey, I don't, because she lived in Japan when she was, younger. I was like, hey, did you come across this? And she's like, no. It's like, well, I got a treat for you then. And the fact
Say,
that
let
I
me
even
show
got
you
her
something.
watching Full Metal Alchemist, we're like on the second part already, right? And she's like
Right.
asking me, it's like, so what's, I'm like, I'm not going to spoil anything. This is a very well done series,
Right, right.
and I'm like, I'm not going to ruin a single thing because it's just, it completely defeats the purpose why everything's set the way that it is, you know?
Exactly. Now,
And
going back to a point that you made about how people have to change with the times, I
right.
just saw a report that Steven Spielberg, who was so against streaming, who was so against everything, is now like, look, let's make money together, Netflix. And he just signed
And
it.
he's a billionaire. He's not dumb. Like, here's the thing,
Yeah,
like, you're not
yeah.
worth billions of dollars
He
just
was
because it
leading
was
the
a
charge
fluke.
against streaming services, him and
Well,
Christopher Nolan. And now he's like, nah, man.
now look,
And
Christopher Nolan is going. Here's the thing with Christopher Nolan. For me, it's
speak
like
on it. Speak on it.
he's talented. I love his movies, but his principles is going to ruin him.
Bro,
No
I
one's going to
just
watch his stuff because it's at a point now where, like, why? Why am I going to continue to have this brain mind twist?
bro,
I can't hear his movies. I can't understand anything what the plot is. Just so at the end I have to watch the movie again just to have more questions, because it's like Tenet, right? I'm not a dumb dude. I understand the premise of what it is, and then all
right.
of a sudden you're watching it, and I'm like, why did they do that? That literally makes no sense.
Okay.
Why they're going in that direction, you know?
Let me that's the thing about Tenet. I think it's I think it's after Tenet, Christopher Nolan's prestige is going away a little bit. And
Well,
it's
yeah,
really showing people a nasty side of him because if you notice his movies gradually over time, the audio has become inaudible and to the point that now we're at Tenet where there's whole scenes where you don't hear anything. And
right.
he put on a explanation that like, look, we mix our sound a certain way so we can convey a certain emotion. And I get that. That's a technique that's used sometimes. But
That's
when you
alienating a group of people.
exactly,
It's
and then
elitist. It's elitism in the movie industry. And I was like, you guys are elitists anyway. Why are you going to go ahead and smudge in more people's faces? Because when you're in the middle of Wichita,
it's
Kansas, you think
yeah,
they have an AK movie theater with all the sound mixing? Let's be real.
bro, that's another thing too. He let up after that when people were complaining about I think it was Tenet or it was Interstellar, it was one of them where
Right.
he after that statement he said another statement where he said, "Whoa, we mix on my films we mix the sound to a certain quality of speaker and a certain quality of theater." So I'm like, "Whoa, whoa!" Like it sounds like you're being a little like highbrow and alienating a whole group of people. I don't go
It's
to crappy theaters. I go to good theaters, and I still couldn't hear what
I
they were saying. So
Inception's 10 years old now. That whole sexiness of that movie's gone away now. You know what I mean? It's
I
like,
mean, it's
okay, I'd
still a
watch it if
very good film,
it's a
man.
great movie, but the thing is, it's like it's 10 years old now. It's like, come on, you're living in the past over that movie at this point. Interstellar was good too, but at the point at the end when he's going through like he's at the behind the bookcase trying to like move the book so his daughter can see, and he's trying to talk. I'm like, Matthew McConaughey is a natural mumbler anyway,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
making it that much worse.
yeah. He's like delivering lines like this and
I like,
like,
dude,
come on,
what
Murph. What
are
are you
you
doing,
saying?
Murph?
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's
what?
dude.
What? Like, what
It
are we
sounds.
doing here? Like, I mean,
It's
I'm
like
sorry.
this.
I know I keep crapping on Tenet, but the main character's name is protagonist. He's not given a
Yeah, I
name, no
know. Like
emotional arc.
when we talked about this, and I had to look up, like, you're like, his name's protagonist. I'm like, Is it really? So I had to like Google. I'm like, not at one point, right? That actually, oh, you think that's true. They never even go by his name
His
ever.
name
You
is
know?
protagonist. He has no emotional arc. There's nothing connecting him to
No,
his
you
mission. I
you
mean,
got a
if you
woman.
compare it to
That's
Inception,
it.
Cobb has a clear cut mission. He wants to get home to his kids. Like
Right.
how, that's
This
so
is
emotional.
he had no mission until he met this girl halfway through the movie, and I'm like, so you're willing to sacrifice and drop everything to go in this reverse time to go ahead and get this girl so she doesn't die, I guess, right? And it's like, and
Not
then
to
it's like, and then it was like, the only thing I appreciated was Robert Pattinson. Believe it or not, was my favorite character in that whole movie.
you know why? You know why? Because he was the only character that showed any emotion besides the
Yeah,
wife.
I'm just like, first off, Robert Pattinson, the guy in Twilight.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like his character mostly because one, I know his name, maybe that helps. But two,
Yeah,
he's
you
the
knew
only
his
one
name
that's
in the film.
relatable. He's the only one that's relatable, right?
He's
And
the
then when
only
they get
one
to the
relatable, man.
right, and when
The
they get
only
to the
one.
end and they're at the helicopter and he's like, you got to go ahead and do your thing so it can go ahead and so the whole timeline doesn't melt or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm like, okay, like
And another thing that adds to his character is that spoiler alert for Tenet. Another thing that is for his character, he knows the whole time that he's going to die in this loop. His whole life is this loop, but yet he keeps going on. He doesn't
yeah,
deviate. And he's like, I think at the end he was like, see ya. Like he knows he's about to die. He's like, oh yeah, I gotta go save you and die so that the loop can continue. That's crazy.
even
That's
though he's simultaneously he's out of that loop. Like they're
yeah.
creating their own timeline. I'm like, so which one's the real
He has to keep
timeline?
the loop going.
Well, he has to keep that one going so that woman can kill her husband
Yeah,
and all.
yeah.
I got so
He should have been the
confused.
main character. That would
I
add
did,
some more emotion.
dude. I'm telling you right now, my Apple Watch is telling me my heart rate's over 100 for the third time talking about Tenet because it's irritating me that much. Because I still don't understand. Like you're telling me about this whole thing about the loop. Like I just figured that out. I'm like, why? I've seen this movie 3 times and I still didn't get that. And I don't even know why I watched it 3 times.
I've
I
only
just thought
watched it once because I'm like, yo,
I thought I was a dummy. I didn't want to be one of those guys that's like, oh, you didn't get it, huh? I'm like, I still don't think anyone gets it.
I
There's
do
no
want to
way.
watch it again because I just watched a YouTube video. Shout out to Phil Mento, man, and he made a good point. Like it's crazy that the movie you can't hear anything, and Christopher Nolan does it on purpose because all the characters are doing throughout the movie is just spitting out uh facts and context to explain the crazy world, and no one's giving any emotion. They're just like, oh yeah, and then no one knows how this stuff works and how people are sending inversion items, but yet
hmm
everybody's telling him how everything works. And then all of a sudden, there's this secret time force people. That's where Aaron Taylor Johnson's character comes up
Oh,
that
right,
know
right,
how
right, right.
to survive in the inversion place. And they're like, oh, you got to put this mask on because you can't breathe when you're in inversion. So I'm like, no one knows how this works, but all of a sudden, there's all these people who knows how this works, and everybody's in on
It's
it.
because
And
their future contacts. I'm not going to even get into it. It's to me.
it doesn't
No,
make
seriously.
sense.
Christopher Nolan is going through a lull like M Night Shyamalan did.
Yeah, because when M Night first came out, it was like he was
Dude, his movies
the
were
nice
spot
shiny
on.
toy, and then
Dude, he
the
had
intrigue
he
is
had like
gone.
he had 4 or 5 good movies, and then he had a line of bad ones. No, see, here's the thing: people hate on The Village. I don't. That was low key, very well done,
Hmm.
and people don't appreciate that. And I also, at first, have you ever seen it happening with Mark Wahlberg?
Unfortunately, yes.
So here's the thing: I watched a whole like breakdown of that movie, and the person who was explaining it, I wish I remember their names, but I don't, said that it was made badly on purpose because when people are in natural shock, they look like they're in constant disbelief and they look like this the whole time. And they're talking like, yeah, he just got ran over by a lawnmower. Yeah. And that's how they talk the entire time. John Leguizamo's character when this person got eaten by a lion. Yeah,
Well, it
yeah,
just
yeah.
shows that realism doesn't necessarily make good film.
No, no. Even war movies are pretty much they're the exception to that because you are trying to simulate an event to hit the point. Because when it comes to movies like that, it's like or biographies, right? You're like, this happened in real life. Recreating it the best I can is the best way to do it justice. Like if you watch Hurt Locker, American Sniper, there's countless others.
Saving
Jarhead,
Private Ryan,
David Private Ryan. I mean,
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, man, Platoon. Come on, like movies like that, like Apocalypse Now. Like you're gonna try to hammer this stuff home. So for me, it's like that's the exception. But when you start having like some virus that's affecting your head, I think is what it was, or
Mm.
whatever,
Oh yeah,
and then
yeah, yeah.
and then they're like,
And it came from like the trees with Earth, or
yeah, because people are overpopulating and hurting the
yeah.
environment and all that other stuff. Right. Yeah. So I mean, so I see where he was going with it. It was just so badly executed because Mark Wahlberg, I'm like, what are you doing? Seriously? And then he started making good movies again. Like he has this series that he produces. Um, man, it's about this family who has this baby that was a doll that came alive. I forget the name of it. It was kind of cool at first, but it lost its appeal after a while, and that was pretty good.
I
But
don't know. I
the
don't know what he needs. I don't know if he needs like
but Glass was good. You know, Glass
Glass was
was
good.
good.
Split was good.
Split.
Split was
Well, that was acting. Like that was 100% McAvoy making that movie.
100%.
Like I'm not saying that the production wasn't good, but he was the reason why. I'm like the guy's
That's
doing like
very
10 characters
true.
at once.
So much so that in Glass, I was like, I need a little more McAvoy here.
Dude,
I'm,
I
I
don't
gotta
care about
say.
Bruce Willis. Okay, I don't
I
care.
mean, Bruce Willis didn't seem to care about Bruce Willis. I mean, he wasn't
No, that's
given
what I'm
that
saying.
much,
Like,
and
yeah. He doesn't like water. Okay. We already know this. Who cares?
he wasn't
Like
given that much in the movie.
you got to bring back. You got to bring back the whole squad, all 39 of them or whatever there are. You know what I mean? Like that was good.
Yeah. I
That was
mean,
good.
what was it? The Beast or the Monster? It was called the
Yeah, the beast,
Creature,
dude, that was perfect.
bro.
How they did that because he actually metamorphosized to that was a perfect thing. Like they made something that was supposed to be folklore and actually made it like that was like so well done. I'm like, all right,
So well done.
this is the type of M Night Shyamalan that I'm used to. Like he
Yeah.
does good stuff. He had a time like Lady in the Lake and all that other stuff with Paul Giamatti. I'm like,
Let's forget Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let's forget that he did that monstrosity. You know,
I think Lady in the Lake was worse, personally.
I don't know because Avatar: The Last Airbender. No, the execution was so bad. You can do a class on how not to shoot a film based on that. Like his camera choices, his lens, like his the way he composited his shots,
Yeah,
and
I know. I felt like I was watching an episode of The Office.
it was so bad, man. It was so. I
Yeah.
mean, at least The Office is funny. I mean,
No, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, so no one's going in this direction because he's too busy now to make these like these movies that savants are supposed to understand. To like now it's like you're
you're
losing
losing
interest.
all your audience, man.
Yeah,
You're
I'm like I'm not.
alienating people, man.
Yeah, I'm like you're trying to get too impressive and too smart for
Yeah,
people for your own good, and it's
like
I,
he's explaining his films by insulting his audience. You don't do that. You don't
no,
do that,
no. I
especially
and
when you're making these confusing films. I mean, it would
right,
be different if it was like Michael Bay saying that about Transformers, but and that's just because he's making movies about robots fighting each other at the end of the day.
it's
But
already
you're
been
making
done
these
10
high
times.
concept movies where we need to know how your
Original,
world works,
right,
but we can't because your dialogue is so muffled
right,
and your characters supposedly don't know how it works, but they're giving you all this information, so you're kind of confused. And there's time travel. I mean,
one
it's
hundred
not
percent.
time travel, he kept saying, which is true. It's just time reverse, but it's
Right.
like, what are we doing here, buddy? So I don't know. I didn't really like his comments. How I mix it for prestige movie theaters. I'm
No,
like,
that's not a good way to go, man, because you're going to be at a point when you're trying to look for work because people are like, okay, this whole confusing everyone is kind of outdated, so we need something different.
yeah, I
Now,
think he needs to bring his
Dunkirk
brother
was
back.
good. I like that.
Yeah,
Like that was, yeah, it was good. Like I appreciated the storytelling over something that no one knows. I
yeah.
appreciate that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? He needs to do more of that. He needs to take a break from the confusing stuff and kind of go to something that's actually already happened and make it his own. You
If you
know,
really want to be confused, go on YouTube and watch him explain how he does story structure.
I don't
And you're
need
gonna be
that right
like,
now.
yo, I've tried to watch him
I
do
don't need
that
that right
three
now.
times, and I was like, bro, you're just making it worse for me. So I was just like, oh, I'll just watch how he does it.
I
But
don't.
I'm like, you don't need to do. I just want to. How about this, Christopher Nolan? I'm gonna give you a challenge. I want you to do a movie that's beginning to end. No time travel, no flashbacks, no mismatching stuff. Just from beginning to end. Just a straight line.
No,
I
no,
just want to
no.
see that.
It's like in the other guys, right? With when
Yeah.
listen, when Staley Coogan is like gets caught and they're in the apartment, he was like, "Oh, you have a secret apartment?" He's like, "Yeah, I use it to bring hookers and have my parents over, and not at the same time because that would be weird." It was like, "All right, so tell us everything." He was like, "Well, maybe if I start in the middle and kind of work backwards." And then maybe I could finally get to a point where it's at the end, and then maybe there's a little bit of foreshadowing involved. He was like, "Just tell us everything." That's what it reminds me of. That whole scene.
Yeah.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's like Christopher Nolan explaining.
You're
I'm
like,
like, how do
what?
you picture movies? He's like, maybe I can start in the middle, and then there'll be a lot of
That's where
foreshadowing.
all his movies start.
And I feel like
Even
the
Batman
execs at
started
WB
that
are just
way.
like,
You're
you know
like,
what, bro?
whoa.
Here's 200 million. Just get out of my office, man. Get out.
Go make something that's confusing. That's why I wanted him to do something that's already happened,
Nah,
and then he can kind of build from that because it's like Dunkirk was so good. It's like, come on,
maybe
man.
like
Like
a biopic, something like
anything,
he
you
said
know,
anything, any event,
anything.
anything
If
in
he just
history.
no time travel would be great. That would be really great because it's so done now. Like dystopic time traveling
Yeah, he
it's
did it in Tenant. I mean, yeah, he did it in Tenant. He did it in Interstellar. Yeah, yeah,
Interstellar. I was like, I like Interstellar. I appreciate it for what it is and all that other stuff, but it's like, got to do your own thing. Like Inception was its own thing. There's
yeah.
nothing
I
even
feel like that
remotely
was his
close to that.
penultimate filmmaking was Inception. Because anytime I watch Christopher Nolan film,
You got to compare it to
everything that
that, don't
came
you?
after, I have to compare it to Inception.
Well, you can't do that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
It's like
it's
one
like a
hit wonders
reflex.
in
I
the
don't do it
80s.
on
You
purpose.
can't do that.
Because like whenever somebody's like, "Why didn't you like Tenet?" I'm like, compare it to Inception. I mean, look at the main character Cobb. First of all, I know his name. Second of all, I know what he's fighting for. Protagonist in
No, he
Tenet.
makes it clear.
Yeah,
That's okay for the character to make
yeah.
their objective clear so everyone can understand.
And even in
You
the
know what I mean?
climax of Inception, it
Well,
takes it all the way back to him letting go of his wife, and he finally has the strength to let go of his wife so he can make it back to his kids.
that's
Whereas
great.
in the
That's great.
climax in
That's great.
in
It's
Tenet,
perfect.
it's like
Works perfectly.
things are
You know
just
what I mean?
blowing up and there's loops and
The flashbacks make sense because they're not really flashbacks because they're living it in real time. Like that works perfectly. You
right,
know what I mean?
right,
So it's
right.
like you don't have to like completely take out a chunk of the movie just for a flashback just so you can go back to it. You know what I mean? It's like The
Right.
Witcher. Like the first 3 episodes, you didn't even know if that was a flashback or not. Nothing
No,
was said. The only time you could tell is when Yennefer was ugly. That was it. And then all of a sudden she's hot.
that's
You
true.
know? So
That's
it's like,
true.
unless you read the books and you can understand those clues, and that's what I had to do. But
I
not
mean, but they
everyone's
listened to the audience. They said in the second season that they're not going to do that anymore. Which, hey, you listen to your
thank God.
audience. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that because there's a convergence with that now. It's like, okay, Ciri and Geralt are together. You don't need to
Hmm.
have all this stuff to build up to this meeting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that because the Vesemir thing is going to be out this month too.
Mm.
So I'm
So
looking
much
forward to that.
content, man.
I
So
know.
much.
This is going to be opening up. I'm very curious to see how many more people are going to be paying attention to the streaming content, like what they're going to be earning with this, and see if this is going to turn into a more, permanent
Mm.
thing. What Scarlett Johansson's doing,
I mean, they're gonna have to be. I mean, with everything that's going on in the world right now, we really gotta reevaluate how we get our content. I hope they won't close the theaters again, but you never know. I mean, you just
Uh,
don't.
the
And
sec-
then there's certain movies I'm just like I will not watch at home. That's just me. I mean, but you gotta adjust with the times, man. I still would love to see movies in theaters. That's how I prefer it. But you gotta move with the times, man. And Disney, pay the woman her money, man. What do you?
just give her what was agreed to, at least just a minimum.
I
Start
got a
there.
love hate relationship with Disney right now because it seems like there's always something going on with Disney. It seems like there's always some kind of behind the scenes crap that's going on.
Do you think they're going to draw this out, or you think there's going to be a settlement involved?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I don't like how Disney tried to use the pandemic against the lawsuit. It was like, oh well, we don't think Scarlett Johansson's taken into consideration the pandemic, and I'm like, come on, man,
Cry me a river, seriously,
come on, man.
seriously.
Like, of course you're gonna
They
use
own
that.
the public TV. They own two of the three channels
Mhm.
for public
Yeah,
TV, ABC and Fox. Give me a break. There's no sympathy, none.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And it's like you got Marvel, you got Star Wars, instant $2 billion movies every time you make one.
yeah. No
Plus,
matter how crappy they are.
exactly. Plus merchandise, plus games, all that. I don't want to hear it. Everyone can die in the corporate head office, and they're still going to be making money.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. They could have anyone in there. It's not changing a thing.
yeah.
So just pay her the minimum stuff, because you're going to look at guys like Robert Downey Jr. who's like, well, I want to bring you back. I'm like,
That's another thing too. This is tarnishing your relationship between your actors. So just play nice, give
do
them
it
the
the right
money.
way. You've been making your money this way. Like, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Because
It's
I
okay
don't
if you
see
pay.
people coming back. I don't see ScarJo coming back after this.
Well,
I see it.
I mean, the good thing is that, I mean, not the good thing. The thing is that her character is already dead, and I don't like the fact that they're doing prequel movies.
Thank you.
You got
I
to
don't like that, man.
the Phase 4 thing, Phase 5, like that needs to be new stuff,
I mean,
because
give her money, but how I feel about the Black Widow movie, that's a whole different podcast.
yeah, no, you're right. It
And
is what it
let
is.
me just say, I was one of the people who was so excited about this movie because
I know you kept talking about it with Taskmaster and all that other stuff.
yes, I was so
Yeah,
excited for Taskmaster. I was so excited for this movie because I like ground level superheroes who are martial arts masters. I love martial arts movies, so I was hyped for it. And then I saw it in theaters. Yes, I saw it in theaters, and that's a whole different podcast, bro.
the Disney, it's like when they made Mulan, right? Like they had a
Ugh.
lot of people. Yeah, there was a lot of problems with that, and one of them was the fact that they had the lead actress who played Mulan is sympathetic towards the Communist Party, which is a completely different thing. And where they filmed it at is where there's genocide of ethnic Muslims in China, and they're okay building concentration camps and killing them, but literally 2 miles away they were filming this movie. I'm like, I
Mm,
don't understand. You know what I mean? It's like Nazi
yeah.
Germany. It's the same thing. Like, why are you going to allow this? Like, and I can't believe there wasn't any. No one talked about that, but they're willing to talk about the Scarlett Johansson thing. While it should be talked about, it's like there's a lot of stuff that Disney does. No one just doesn't say a thing ever. You know what I mean? And it's like it's
Yeah,
getting to
man.
a point. They're not the only company that does this, dude. There's a lot of companies that are just like, well, we're gonna do what we want. Okay, that's it. You know?
Yeah, man. I mean, to wrap it up, just give her her money, man. Give
Right.
her her money. But hey, Zach, appreciate you coming on,
Yeah,
especially
man.
this late.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
that was another big cast, my nomads. Be creative. I hope you like it. Peace.